It basically just stopped all of the cooperation between our law enforcement partners on the city and state levels.
It's unfair to her. It is. It is unfair to her.
No, he set her up to fail because he's caught feelings from the campaign.
Grants us the power to issue these detainers and these warrants.
Not the end. We will continue to work to identify all those responsible.
Now everyone in the middle gets it as well. Where are they getting the money for this, and what's this going to do to illegal immigration?
And I want to talk about another top issue, the border. Now, I love how eyes turn on in Biden.
ICE Field Director for NYC. The ICE Regional Field Director for New York City is advocating for increased cooperation between local law enforcement and his office. All I ask is that the state and the city reconsider their sanctuary policies and work together. In an interview with NY1, Kenneth Ginello stated, "We would like to work together with the governor's office as well as the mayor's office." The degree of cooperation or lack thereof between federal immigration officials and New York City police enforcement has been under scrutiny in recent weeks as the city deals with a recent migrant crisis and a number of high-profile incidents in which the suspects were immigrants. There is an increase in public safety threats that we're targeting and that we're seeking to arrest, Ginello stated to NY1. The City Council has adopted a number of actions in recent years to protect undocumented people from being detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, acknowledging New York's long tradition of embracing migrants. Immigration New Yorkers are not to be deterred from seeking help or reporting crimes out of fear of deportation from their engagement with city agencies. Council Speaker Adrian Adams stated during a news briefing last week, "We are unable to collaborate with the NYPD and other law enforcement agencies," Ginello stated. "We are unable to work together. Information is not shared." According to Ginello, the goal of his operatives in New York City is to capture violent offenders.
It basically just stopped all of the cooperation between our law enforcement partners on the city and state levels.
Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country.
We have databases that let us know when individuals are arrested. Unfortunately, in New York City,
we are here today because the President of the United States is failing to fulfill his duty to defend our country.
These so-called sanctuary policies, we would just love for the mayor's office, the governor's office, just to revisit them.
They passed through the border to the southwest. They have documents, but we're only able to rely on our foreign law enforcement colleagues for information regarding criminal histories, Ginello stated. A lot of information we learn about them after they arrive in the U.S. may not be current. After the city's migrant issue lasted for almost 2 years and several high-profile incidents in which migrants were major suspects, the city is under increasing pressure to change its sanctuary laws. I believe it is something that we owe to discuss and that we owe to bring up with the City Council. The inquiry on the attack on 2 NYPD policemen in Times Square last month includes ICE. According to NY1, Wilson Juarez and Kelvin Servita Arocha, 2 of the accused, are currently being held by ICE. Botching the border. In January 2023, President Biden sat at the head of his conference table on Air Force One, demanding obscure immigration data points from his team. The meeting is emblematic of the Biden's administration's struggle with a border crisis over the past 3 years, characterized by infighting, blame shifting, and indecision. The crisis has grown to the point where Biden now is embracing immigration policies he ran against in 2020, such as restricting asylum laws and suggesting he will shut down the border. Much of the current crisis is rooted in factors Biden's team has had little control over, including unprecedented global calamities that have pushed millions of migrants to the U.S., decades of congressional inaction, and the state of key agencies after the Trump administration. Many current and former Biden officials say they believe they have done their best considering the circumstances, but others tell Axios they think the administration has fallen far short on matters within its control. The border crisis has been a political and humanitarian issue for President Biden, who has become increasingly concerned about the issue.
pushing a bill that would force local law enforcement agencies to report to federal authorities every time that a migrant is arrested.
It's unfair to her. It is. It is unfair to her.
No, he set her up to fail because he's caught feelings from the campaign.
Today to address the ongoing crisis at our border. When President Biden took office in January 2021.
Right now, ongoing operations, current operations, I usually don't speak about them.
Has hurt us, and where the White House needs to make adjustments.
Grants us the power to issue these detainers and these warrants.
The White House and Democratic Party's ideologies have slowed decision-making, with some officials advocating for policies to punish illegal border crossings, while others push for reforms in asylum policies and legal pathways for migrants. The White House's immigration team has also seen constant turnover, leading to contradictory actions. Initially, the White House avoided discussing immigration or the border, fearing it would draw attention to a political vulnerability. However, Biden signed several immigration-related executive orders in his first weeks in office, undoing many of Trump's border restrictions. In early 2021, the new Biden administration was surprised by the increasing number of children and teens crossing the border illegally. Domestic policy advisor Susan Rice emerged as a central and controversial coordinator of the administration's approach to the border, with some officials finding her needlessly combative and disagreeing with her policy-wise. Biden's response: there have been reports of internal conflicts and disagreements among officials within the Biden administration over the migrant crisis. During a previously undisclosed meeting on Air Force One, President Biden expressed frustration over his team's lack of specific immigration data. Even among Democratic voters, support for Biden has declined as a result of the border crisis and the political impact from the administration's handling of immigration issues. As a result of the migrants' deportation to large cities, tensions have increased and calls for more forceful action from the government have grown. A sense of incoherence and a lack of successful immigration strategy has been exacerbated by reports of internal conflict within the White House, including disagreements over immigration policy between Susan Rice and Kamala Harris, as well as frequent changes in the immigration team. The administration's public and private reactions to the problem, which included downplaying border crossing increases at first and then trying to bring back measures like Remain in Mexico, show that it was difficult to control the immigration policy political ramifications as well as the migrant inflow.
Biden's for a free and open border. Just tear down everything. Let everybody come. No restrictions.
Collaborating with our law enforcement partners, and it would be so much easier.
Not the end. We will continue to work to identify all those responsible.
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue.
The Biden administration refuses to exercise its power to deny entry.
The report draws attention to more general concerns about strategic direction, leadership, and accountability within the Biden administration. Vice President Harris's alleged incompetence in her immigration capacity and the disorganized manner in which the migrant crisis has been handled are the main points of contention. Prepaid debit cards. Credit cards are being issued by New York City to immigrants who are in the country illegally. The assessment of AP, missing context. According to a mayor spokesperson, the city is starting a trial initiative that will give migrants prepaid debit cards to use exclusively for the purchase of food and infant necessities. The cards will work at bodegas, grocery stores, supermarkets, and convenience stores for participants to shop. Cost-cutting is the aim, according to officials. Social media users are misrepresenting the new initiative on social media by making misleading claims about the kind of aid participants would receive in the midst of a large migrant surge into New York City. According to Kayla Memelik, a spokesman for New York City Mayor Eric Adams, they will be loaded with an average of $12.52 per person every day for 28 days. Similar prepaid cards are already used by the government-supported health and nutrition programs WIC and SNAP to distribute benefits. The experimental initiative for which New York City has allotted $53 million, is expected to save $7.2 million yearly and $600,000 per month, according to officials. Additionally, the initiative will let migrants buy whatever food and infants items they want. Using the cards in local merchants should help boost the local economy, officials hope, adding to the savings that Adams mentioned during a press conference on Monday. Adams addressed the validity of the claims circulating online, approximately 35 minutes into the news conference. He declared, "We need to refute the rumor that we gave American Express cards to everybody. That is simply untrue." There are two very distinct kinds of payment methods: debit cards and credit cards. A customer who uses a credit card borrows money that they have to pay back by a specific deadline.
The rumor that we gave American Express cards to everyone.
Now, this in response to the recent wave of crimes involving asylum seekers.
This is successful. We're going to expand it even more.
Now everyone in the middle gets it as well. Where do they get the money for this, and what's this going to do to illegal immigration?
And I want to talk about another top issue, the border. Now, I love how eyes turn on in Biden.
To ensure the money is spent on food and baby supplies, we will provide prepaid debit cards to an initial 500 migrant families with children. They may use the prepaid cards exclusively at bodegas, grocery stores, supermarkets, and convenience stores, the email writer stated. Participants will be required to sign an affidavit affirming that they will be using these cards for the intended purpose, according to Memelik, and failure to do so might result in expulsion from the program. The company that New York City is collaborating with to introduce the initiative, Mobility Capital Finance or MACOFI, verified to the AP that the cards are not credit cards. According to MoCaFi, the initiative is scheduled to launch later this month. Adams stated during the news conference on Monday that the city will extend the program if it proves to be successful. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.